welcome to Beyond the Music, the podcast where we dive into the lives and stories of people who shape the world of music. I am Karina.
And I'm Lena. We are both classically trained singers, and this podcast is our chance to explore the fascinating intersections of music, history, and humanity.
In our previous episode, Lena brought to the table Goethe and his Kunstlied. Very fascinating. So for our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Goethe, his poetry, and the music, please check out that last episode. Today, I have brought the music by Saint-Saëns, Carnival of the Animals.
Ooh, okay.
I felt particularly inspired by this because spring is around the corner. There's lots of dogs outside being walked. And as you personally know, Lena, whenever I see a dog, I can't help myself.
I want one too.
So I know, but we can't. And it made me think of how animals are portrayed within classical music. And of course, the first thing that came to my mind was Carnival of the Animals, which is one of the more famous pieces by Saint-Saëns. His other piece, of course, is Samson and Delilah in English, or Samson et Dalila. So let's dive into the Carnival of the Animals. Now, Carnival of the Animals is a humorous, it's supposed to be very funny, musical suite of 14 movements. 14. It's 25 minutes in duration, and originally it's for 2 pianos and a chamber ensemble, and it was meant to be performed in private. And a fascinating note, Saint-Saëns actually prohibited public performance of the work during his lifetime.
Oh, okay.
Can you believe that? One of the most famous pieces he's ever written, he forbade public performances for.
Well, some composers are special.
Well, do you know the reason why he did this?
No, please tell.
He felt that its frivolity would damage his reputation as a serious composer.
Okay, because it's too childish in his eyes, or?
Apparently, yes. That was his feeling.
But it's so beautiful.
My favorite part is the Swan.
Yeah.
Oh, when I hear that piece, I just drop into a million pieces. It is...
Yeah, I was learning to play the cello while doing my bachelor's just for fun.
Really?
And I was always saying to my teacher, I want to play the Swan.
Oh. So that's so cute.
I did. It wasn't, after a while it wasn't the most beautiful swan. It was more maybe like a dying swan, but still it was the swan.
Oh, Lena, that's... Oh. Well, I do have good news for you, though. Unfortunately, Saint-Saëns did die December 16th, 1921, at age 86. Take a guess of when the suite was published.
Probably shortly before? No, after?
After. The suite was published in 1922.
Oh, okay.
And a public performance also occurred that same year, to which apparently the audience went crazy for.
So they just were waiting for it. He just did a really good marketing campaign.
Well, I think they respected his wishes.
Yeah, and he was probably just thinking like, if I put it like that, if I tell that it exists but don't want to have it played because of some dubious reason, and say it's after, then I'm like gonna live forever because my music will be known then because a lot of people want to listen to that piece. So it's a really good marketing campaign from him.
Wow, interesting. Well, Saint-Saëns' first intentions for writing this piece was actually for his students at the École Niedermeyer de Paris. The first performed concert, or private concert, I would like to specify, it was private, was given by the cellist Charles Lebouc on the 3rd of March, 1882. And there were quite a few performers in this entirety. There was, of course, Sanson, there was Dimer, Tafenau, Turbin, too many to even count. And it was the first time that this zoological fantasy was presented. And again, with the same enthusiasm that the public performance garnered. A second performance was then given at Émile Lemoine Chamber Music Society. Then again at the home of Pauline Viardot. And in the audience was Franz Liszt.
Oh, we all know him.
We all know him.
If you don't know him, he's a really good composer and pianist.
Incredible pianist. Incredible. So many prolific people did hear this music, and they all had the same reaction. They were stunned and absolutely loved it. So I'd like now to go through each of the 14 sections, just to give you an idea of what's part of it. So, for the record, the suite is scored for 2 pianos, 2 violins, viola, cello, double bass, flute, and piccolo, clarinet in C and B flat, a xylophone, as well as a glass harmonica. Now, if you cannot have a glass harmonica, the glockenspiel is actually frequently used as a substitute. And each of the 14 movements represents a different animal or group of animals. So, Lena, you and I have already talked about the swan, but can you remember another animal that is represented?
Oh, God.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I just thinking about the clarinets and try to remember which animal they were. But I don't want to put it together with Peter and the wolf. So my brain is a little bit meshed everything together.
Not to worry.
I think there's lions.
Yes! Right? That's actually the very first one.
Yay!
Yeah! So the first movement is called Introduction and Royal March of the Lion. In this section, the strings and 2 pianos begin. They have a bold tremolo, and the strings enter with a stately theme. Perfectly indicative of what a lion is. The tremolo, you're scared, but then you have this incredible strength to the animal. So if we look at this movement in its musical form, it is in a theme of a march. So very serious, just like a lion. The strings provide the melody, and the pianos occasionally take low chromatic scales in octaves, which suggest the roar of a lion or high ostinatos. Eventually, the 2 groups of instruments switch places, so the pianos are playing a higher, softer version of the melody. And of course, when you see a lion, or if you know anything about the animal, the movement ends with a fortissimo note, just like a lion's roar. The next section moves into an animal, in my opinion, is not as majestic as when we think about a lion. The next section is about hens and roosters.
Oh. But it's a really needed animal.
It's a very needed animal. I do agree. I just have to admit I'm a little scared of them.
Especially of the roosters, yeah.
Yes, and I really don't like being woken up at dawn. So in this section, the main instruments are violins, viola, 2 pianos, and a clarinet. And if you look musically, there's a lot of staccatos, which are meant to be the pecking theme. So just like chickens pecking at grain. And who gets to play the rooster? the piano. The piano plays a very fast theme based on the rooster's crowing cry. So Saint-Saëns liked to use the instruments to evoke the sound of the animals itself.
Mm.
We then have the third section, which is translated to swift animals. So anything that's running, like horses, donkeys, because there are many fast
cheetahs.
Yeah. There are many fast running notes in this section, 16th notes, and it's only two pianos.
Poor pianists.
So can you imagine that those poor pianists' fingers? But it really evokes the idea of the running animals. Now, do you remember which animal was opposite to the running in this music?
Oh no, I don't know. Opposite to running. Like something really lazy.
Close. The fourth section is tortoises.
Oh, something really slow, okay.
Really slow. And in this movement, it's strings and piano, and it's very satirical because it opens with a piano playing a pulsing triplet figure in a higher register. So it's quite funny. And just to quickly move through, we have the fifth section, which is called the elephant. And those instruments are the double bass and the piano. The section is marked allegretto pomposo. So a caricature of the elephant. We then have kangaroos, where the music has grace notes jumping up into the piece. Very few held notes. It even opens with a grace note to a 16th note grace note to an 8th note followed by an 8th rest and continuing that pattern in an accelerated motion.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the more famous song, The Aquarium. And when you think of an aquarium, you don't think of anything moving fast or jumping. So in this section, Saint-Saëns used violins, viola, cello, so a string quartet essentially, two pianos, flute, and the glass harmonica. Overall, in the aquarium movement, it wants to evoke a sense of peaceful, dimly lit aquarium sense. Have you ever been to an aquarium where it's dark?
Yeah, love that. I love aquariums.
This piece it's just like that. And then moving on, the 8th is characters with long ears.
So the donkey,
and there's actually part of the music that he uses to evoke the manner of a donkey's braying, the hee-haw. And then we have the cuckoo in the depths of the woods. Of course, we need birds. We have the aviary. Now, this is where I think Saint-Saëns got a little cheeky. He called the 11th movement pianists.
So they are animals?
He is satiring them as animals. So the entire piece is just made up of exercises and scales based on C, D flat, D, and E flat.
Nice.
Moving on, the 12th is about fossils. And Saint-Saëns actually mimics his own composition, his famous Danse Macabre. Because of the bone sounds used by the xylophone in this. And of course, the famous piece is The Swan, which is number 13. Or maybe unlucky 13, I don't know if you're superstitious at all.
Wow. But it's so beautiful. And it's quite hard to play beautiful on the cello, I can say.
It really is. And in The Swan is portrayed by a slow-moving cello melody. So just like a swan gliding over the water. And as you know, the feet underneath are going like crazy. This is shown in the music by rippling sixteenths in one piano and rolled chords in the other. So the entire piece is performed by two pianos and a cello. Specifically, this movement, it is so famous and so well loved that a short ballet solo called The Dying Swan was choreographed in 1905 by Mikhail Fokine, and it was performed by the famous ballerina Anna Pavlova, who gave 4,000 performances of the dance.
Well, she earned a lot of money, I guess, with that.
Well, she is one of the most prolific ballerinas.
Yeah.
And I was able to watch a recording of her doing this, and it was breathtaking. Just beautiful. And we are finally at the 14th movement, the finale. Of course, full ensemble. The finale opens on the same trills in the piano as in the introduction, but then, of course, all of the other instruments, and if you want to say all of the other animals, join in.
So we have a full arc of Noah.
Pretty much, yes. And to make it such a beautiful finale, it actually quotes all of the previous movements. So the introduction, the lion, donkeys, hens, kangaroos are all quoted here in some sense. Of course, we need a final laugh. The work ends with a series of 6 hee-haws from the donkeys. As if to playfully say the donkey has the last laugh before the final strong group of C major chords.
Oh.
And that is a very brief covering of the entire Carnival of the Animals. For our listeners, I would highly recommend listening to it. Like I said, it's only 25 minutes in duration. And there are many articles, many research papers, many books that go into the details of this piece. And I wish we had more time to do so.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. And it's kind of funny, the anecdote that Saint-Saëns didn't want to have it played while he was alive.
Isn't that shocking, though? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, but that's kind of probably because he is such a big critique of himself, like the most artists are. So it was something new, and he wasn't sure if it would be seen by his colleagues, which he looked up to, maybe if it would be perceived as something good or bad, because he put probably a lot of work in it. So I mean, he didn't just write it write a little piece there. I think he really was thinking about that. I mean, he wouldn't have written 14 movements if it was just something he would just fast write down. He was thinking, I mean, he put his effort in there. And so I think he just feared the reaction of other composers, because normally you have the highest highest praise for other composers who you like, and you want them to praise you too, especially for stuff where your heart was put into.
Well, you can definitely tell when listening to this entire piece, his heart was in it. Yeah. He really puts everything there, and it's incredible how he used the instruments to portray the animals and their individual movements and their sounds. But I do also want to very quickly mention Rossini's Cat Duet.
Oh, I love that.
Talk about a funny piece.
Yeah. There's a nice recording of that with 2 little boys in a church in a really
Yes!
straight-faced
It's on YouTube.
manner. It's on YouTube. It's awesome. And it's
Oh.
really straight-faced, like like boy sopranos singing that with a really straight face, like in their
Yes.
church outfit and everything. It's gold. You have to see that.
It's so good. I going through finding music specifically about animals, of course I thought of that first. But I really wanted to do something on Carnival of the Animals.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll talk more about the cat duet, because that is certainly a standout piece.
Of course. And it's fun. For
It's
like,
a lot of fun
if you
to
have
do.
to do a concert with someone together and do it in the end, it's always good to end the concert with love.
Always. Like, I even saw this one recording of it where it was two divas and they were cat fighting.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the world of the Carnival of the Animals as much as we did. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.
And next time, we'll delve into another fascinating chapter of music history. Until then, keep listening and discovering the stories beyond the music.
See you next time.